Hello, my name is Venkatesh Krishnan. I'm the product lead for integrations in AWS. Today, I'm excited to introduce Amazon AppFlow, a new service that we launched just a few weeks ago that enables customers to move data bidirectionally between different SaaS applications that they use in their business and AWS services. So you can use this service without having to write any code. So it's a service where you would come in and configure your data transfer requirements, and the service will take care of moving the data from the SaaS applications to AWS services. What I'll cover today is an overview of this service, but before that, I would like to talk to you about why we built this service, right? What motivated us to build this service? What did we hear from our customers that got us thinking that this would be a great value to add to our customers? So I'm going to share some insights that we gathered from our customers so that you'll be able to relate to the requirements and use cases that you have. Of course, I will give you an introduction to AppFlow. I'll talk to you about how it works under the hood. I'll talk to you about the features and benefits, and then we'll show you a brief demo of the service. And finally, we'll open up the floor to questions and answers. At Amazon, we always work backwards from our customers' requirements. So when we went and talked to a lot of our customers, one of the things they said that would absolutely add a lot of business value was tighter integrations between different applications and services that they use in their business and various AWS services. For example, customers are using CRM applications for managing their relationship with their customers. They have ERP applications for enterprise resource planning. They have HCIM applications to manage their workforce. So there's a lot of valuable data in these applications. And what customers want to be able to do is to aggregate data from all these sources so that they can draw better insights about their business. And that drives decisions about new products. It helps improve customer service. It helps them target communications. It also helps them increase their customer lifetime value. Yet another set of use cases for which integrations really add value to our customers' businesses is where they are able to connect these applications, the services, the processes they have in their business to automate workflow. So they are able, with that, they are able to reduce manual work that is done. They are able to reduce costs and improve operational efficiency. Integration requirements are all pervasive in a business. It's not just that developers or IT infrastructure, engineers need integrations. They are the ones that typically build integrations, but the value of integrations, is realized by pretty much everyone in an organization. So what our customers said they're looking for is a simple to use, a no-code tool that users in lines of business like CRM administrators, the BI specialists can easily leverage. These are folks that are looking for self-service ways of building integrations between the applications and services that they use. And so anything that could empower these users would be very valuable to our customers. Now, with integrations, you're basically moving data and events across different applications and services. So security and data privacy were very important requirements from our customers. They are concerned about data leaks. They are concerned about access of this data by unauthorized users. So they want better governance of data movement. They want the data transfer to be secure. And they also want data transfers to not expose the data to public internet, right? So they wanted to limit this data transfer so that it stays within trusted network boundaries. So working backwards from our customers' requirements, we built Amazon AppFlow. It's an integration service from AWS that enables you to create bidirectional data flows between SaaS applications that you use commonly in your business and AWS services such as S3 and Redshift in just a few clicks. There's no coding needed. It's pretty straightforward. As a user, you would come in and define your data flow requirements using the UI. So, and I'll show you a demo of how easily you can do that. And once you set up your flow requirements, once you specify when the flow should run, which data should move and from which source to which destination. Our service will take things from there. It will provision the necessary compute, storage, and networking resources that are needed in order to execute your data flow. It will orchestrate and execute the data flow as per the requirements that you have specified. Creating a AppFlow flow just takes a few minutes. As I said, you come and specify your source, you specify your destination. You also specify the trigger mechanism. So we support 3 types of triggers. One is an event-based trigger, where as soon as data changes in the source system, in this case Salesforce, you would be able to trigger a flow that transfers data in near real time with a few seconds of latency. So we monitor for change data capture, for platform events in Salesforce, and trigger a flow that will transfer data from Salesforce into S3, for example. We also support scheduled data flows, where you are able to set up a data transfer at a predetermined interval, right? So you could come and set up flows as frequently as every minute, or you can choose a frequency of your choice. It could be hourly, monthly, daily, and so on. You can also run the flow on demand, and this is a manual trigger where as soon as you set up the flow, you click a button and that will transfer data from source to destination. In addition to specifying the source and destination, you can also map source fields to destination fields. So we provide a mapping interface that enables you to pick the fields that you would like to transfer and also map them to destination fields. As part of this mapping, you are also able to add processing to the data. So you're able to combine 2 fields and create a destination field that merges the source fields. Like, for example, you want to concatenate the fields, or if they're numeric fields, you may want to add the fields and send them to the destination. So you're able to map source fields to destination using formula, if that's what you want. You can add filters. For example, you don't want to bring all records, but you want to pull in records that were created within a time frame. So you can add a filter that essentially limits the records that we are pulling from the source and sending to the destination. You can mask sensitive fields. Let's say you have social security numbers that you're pulling from the source and you're sending to the destination, and you don't want all the 9 digits of your SSN. You want to maybe say mask the first 5 or the last 4 of your SSN with and replace them with asterisk. So you can easily do that. You can add a mask which will replace the number of characters that you choose with just asterisks and send it to your destination. You can validate records. So you can say, hey, if there are records that don't have a valid date field or a valid account ID field, don't bring them in. And of course, you can also truncate, right? If you have a large number of characters and you want to truncate it, you can always add truncation. And that's pretty much it. Once you set up, configure your flow, you save the flow, and if it's an on-demand flow, you would just click a button at the end, and you would be able to run the flow right away. If it's a flow that is to be triggered based on an event in Salesforce, or if it's a flow that is set up to transfer data on a schedule, you just click the activate button, and whenever the trigger occurs, we will transfer the data from the source to the destination after processing, after mapping the fields as per your configuration. So under the hood, what AppFlow does is it essentially calls the application, the source application and the destination applications. We integrate with RESTful APIs or other interfaces that these applications expose, including JDBC connectors, and transfer data. And we leverage other AWS services in order to orchestrate and execute your data transfers. And so, for example, we run our flows on Lambda and other AWS compute services like Fargate and EC2 containers. So these are services under the hood that we leverage to execute and orchestrate your data transfer. So Amazon AppFlow also automates private link for supported SaaS applications that ensures that your data transfer between source and destination happens entirely over the private backbone. So for applications that have already integrated with AWS Private Link, Amazon AppFlow will automatically create private link endpoints and transfer data over those endpoints and execute the flows through those endpoints. The process is completely under the hood, so you don't have to set up these private link endpoints. You don't have to set up the private link connection. We do everything under the hood for you. We manage the life cycle of these private link endpoints to ensure that you don't have to actively set up these endpoints or delete them once your transfer is done. We do that dynamically and leverage these endpoints to transfer data from source to destination. This ensures that your data never gets exposed to the public internet. At launch, we have support for private link with Singular, Trend Micro, and Snowflake, and we are rapidly expanding that ecosystem to support other applications for private data transfers. So we have a list of 14 applications that we support, either as source or destination. Some applications are supported both as sources and destinations. For example, Salesforce is both a source and a destination. Likewise, S3, Amazon S3 can act as a source and a destination. Some applications are only supported as destinations. Like, for example, Snowflake is only a destination. It is not supported as a source. Some common use cases that you could leverage AppFlow for are to, for example, you have Salesforce opportunities that you want to transfer to Redshift. You can set up a flow that is triggered as soon as the opportunity status changes, right? So as soon as the opportunity status changes, you can set up a flow that pulls new opportunity records and inserts them into a Redshift table. Or you can use AppFlow to routinely analyze Slack events. So you can set up a flow that pulls data from instant messenger conversations and sends events and conversation data to a business analytics tool, for example, Redshift or Snowflake data warehouse, and you can perform downstream analysis. A lot of our customers use AppFlow to hydrate data lakes that are set up on AWS. They bring data from Salesforce, Marketo, ServiceNow, Zendesk, and any other application that we support into a bucket in S3. And from there on, they can leverage that data for analytics. You can set these flows up so that you bring data on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, or even a daily basis. I want to touch upon a few key value propositions of this service. With AppFlow, we enable powerful data transformation. We also enable built-in features such as pagination, error login, and network capabilities that are built out of the box for you. So you can build your data transfers, enterprise-grade data transfers with AppFlow very easily. It's a no-code service, so it's attractive for users in lines of business and citizen integrators. With AppFlow, you can transfer millions of records in a single flow run. Like, for example, you can bring up to 15 GB of data from Salesforce into an S3 bucket in a single flow run. You don't have to break your flows down into multiple flow runs in order to configure a flow of that size. So we cover a wide range of data transfer use patterns. For example, you can use AppFlow to transfer data in near real time when you set up an event-triggered flow from Salesforce into an Amazon destination like S3 or Redshift. Or you can set up a flow that transfers a large volume of data, up to 15 GB for Salesforce, from Salesforce into S3 or Redshift or any other destination that we support. We also raise the bar on security. We encrypt data at rest and in transit. We offer customers two options when it comes to encryption. By default, we will always encrypt data, and if you don't choose your own encryption keys, we will choose an AWS managed CMK to encrypt your data. But you have the option of bringing your own encryption key. So this would be a customer managed CMK that gives you better control over the encryption. You can set policies on those keys. You can revoke those keys if you want. With SaaS applications that have integrated with AWS Private Link, AppFlow provides end-to-end private connectivity out of the box. So you don't have to set anything up. You will be able to transfer data privately between those applications and AWS services so that the data never gets exposed to the public internet. Before I jump on to the demo, I thought I should give you a few integration best practice tips. AppFlow basically integrates with with the source and destination applications by making API calls against your accounts. So we would recommend that you be aware of any rate limits on those API calls or any other throttling limits that the provider, the source or the destination service may impose. Also, we suggest that you comply with all the data access policies set by your organization. AppFlow can transfer data from sources that you have authorization to access and to destinations that you have access to. And so you would need to make sure that the access policies on the data, once it's transferred to the destination, is appropriately set. We would also recommend that you use customer managed CMKs. This gives you better control over your data because now you're able to revoke those keys if something bad happens that will terminate all data transfers. I will now jump to a demo of AppFlow. Okay, great. So I'm going to show you a demo of a data transfer from Salesforce into Amazon Redshift using Amazon AppFlow. So you'll find Amazon AppFlow listed under Applications Integrations in your AWS console. So if you click on Services and look under Application Integration, you'll find Amazon AppFlow. Click on it to get to the landing page. So the first step is for you to create a flow. So you create flows by just clicking on the Create Flow button. You can enter a name for your flow. So in this case, I'm going to call it I can enter a description. As I was mentioning, there are two options for encryption. By default, Amazon will use an AWS managed CMK, which is still provisioned in your account, but it doesn't provide you an option to manage those keys. It doesn't provide control over those keys. So if you would like to bring your own key, it's pretty straightforward. You just go into KMS and set up those keys. And as soon as you set up the keys, the list of keys that you could use for AppFlow will appear in a drop-down, and you can choose a key that's your own key. That's a customer managed CMK. You can set access policies on this key, and as well as you can revoke the key if needed. You can add tags to keep tab of your flows. I'm going to move on and show the next step. So I'm going to select Salesforce as my source. So I click on Salesforce. The next step is to connect to Salesforce. It's pretty straightforward. You basically click on create a new connection. If you don't have an existing connection, you select whether you want to log into Salesforce's production or sandbox environment. Give the connection a name. So I'm going to call it Salesforce prod account connection, and I click continue. It basically takes me into the Salesforce authentication server. It's an OAuth workflow, pretty straightforward. I just enter my username and password in Salesforce. Again, this is a Salesforce authentication page. I click login, and then Salesforce asks if I give embedded app in Salesforce the permission. It's essentially asking if AppFlow can access data. So you click allow, and that essentially sets up your Salesforce connection. Once this connection has been established with Salesforce, you have an option of choosing either a Salesforce object to transfer, or you can choose a Salesforce event. When you choose Salesforce objects, we list all the S objects that you have access to in Salesforce. You can pick the object that you want to bring into the destination, and all your objects are listed, not just the standard objects, any custom objects that you would have set up. are listed. So you can pick the object that you want to transfer from this list. So I'm going to pick the user object. There you go. I'm going to pick the user object. I'd also like to talk to you about a second option that is available. You can choose a Salesforce event. And in this case, we will provide a drop-down list of all the platform events and the change data capture CDC events that you can pick from. So you can choose, for example, an account change event. And this will look for any new accounts that are created or any changes to existing accounts in Salesforce. And as soon as that change happens in Salesforce, the flow will get triggered and it will transfer data that's contained in the payload of that event into the destination of your choice. For this demo, I'm just going to go back to my Salesforce object and pick users as the object that I want to bring in. My destination is going to be Amazon Redshift. So I've already set up Redshift. I've set up the connection to Redshift. I just picked my existing connection, and then I picked the object that I want to, it's the public set of objects, and then I pick the table that I want to bring the data. So I'm transferring user data from Salesforce into my customer contact table that I've set up in Redshift. We also provide you error handling options. Let's say for some reason we are not able to insert records into Redshift. Either there was some issue on the destination side that we are not able to insert, or perhaps there was a mismatch in the field type. So let's say that for some reason we are not able to insert data into your destination. You can either choose to terminate the current flow run, or you can choose to ignore that record and continue the flow run. In either case, you can also choose an S3 bucket where we will drop all the records that we could not insert into the destination in that S3 bucket. So you can choose an S3 bucket and a folder inside that bucket through the prefix option here in order to insert that data. You can, since we selected a Salesforce object, the two trigger options that are available are to run the flow on demand or run the flow on a schedule. When we choose to run the flow on demand, as soon as we set up the flow, we click the button to run the flow. But if we choose to run the flow on a schedule, we have the option of specifying the schedule. So you can choose to transfer data every 5 minutes, for example, or you can choose to transfer the data weekly or monthly. When you choose anything that's more granular than a daily option, you are the only data transfer option that's available to you is to transfer new data. So for example, if I pick an option to transfer data every 5 minutes, every 3 minutes, 2 minutes, you can transfer only new data. But when you choose a daily transfer, then you can either choose to transfer only new data, which is like every flow run we go look back at what has changed since the previous run and transfer whatever has changed, or you can also choose to transfer all data. Again, this is available. Transferring all data is available only when you choose a frequency that's lower than a daily transfer. I'm going to go back and change this to run on demand because I want to execute the flow as soon as I am done creating. Okay, so the next step is for you to map the data fields. You can either choose to map the fields between the source and destinations manually, or you can use a CSV file and upload the mapping. So in this case, if you choose the CSV file, all you have to do is specify the source field and the destination field, the ones that need to be mapped as comma separated values, one field mapping per line. Create a simple CSV file and you can upload that CSV file and we will auto-populate the mapping. I'm going to show you a manual mapping in this case. So I'm going to go into Salesforce. I've already created a Redshift table, by the way, that has 4 fields in it. I'm going to show you the fields in the Redshift table. So I have a customer contact table in Redshift. It's got 4 fields. It's got name, company, title, and email. So that's the table I'm going to populate. Right now, the table is empty. And I'm going to create the mapping, pull the data from Salesforce, and put it into that destination. So I'm going to choose to map the account ID to the company name. So I'm going to go choose account ID from Salesforce, and I'm going to map that to the company. I'll click Map Fields. The next one, I'm going to pick the title and map that to the title field. Pick the full name in Salesforce and map that to the name field in Redshift. And finally, I have the email in Salesforce that I would like to map to the email in Redshift. That's it. I can add validations just to make sure that if I want to check to see if the account ID is empty, ignore those records. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to move on. I'm going to save this. The next step is to add filters. So you can go and add filters. Right now, I don't have any filters, but I will go and create a new filter. So for example, if I don't want to pull all records, but I want to pull records, just those records that were created after a certain date, I can go in and here and say that the created date for the record should meet the criteria that it's on or before, let's say, May 1, 2020. So I've added a filter, and that's it. Once I've configured my flow, I just save the flow, and then the next step is to run the flow. I click on Run Flow, and it should transfer the records. There you go. So it processed 12 records and transferred 1 KB of data from Salesforce into Redshift. So we'll go into Redshift and run a query to look at our data. As you can see that the records are transferred from Salesforce into Redshift. There are if there are entries in Salesforce that have empty field names, then it doesn't bring those in, but ones that have valid entries, that brings those data into the destination. So that was the demo. Thank you so much for your participation in the webinar. We will now move over to the question and answer session.